Hey y'all, welcome back. Today we're checking out the UK's pubs crisis explained. Explain it to me.
If you live in the UK, you'll know that, sadly, you don't have to walk very far to come across a boarded-up pub. In the past few years following the COVID-19 pandemic, the rate of pub closures has accelerated, driven by the cost of living crisis, higher rents, and a slowdown in socialising. In fact, at the end of 2024, the total number of pubs across England and Wales had fallen below 39,000 for the first time since records began, with at least 34 pubs shutting every month in 2024 on average.
So for the first time since they started keeping track, it has dipped below 39,000. Wow. Hang on. So, what are there, like 68 million people in the UK? Is that right? Let's see. 68 million divided by 39,000. That's 1,743. I don't know what that shows, but I guess. Wait, but how many pubs are there? How many pubs were there before? When there were the most pubs ever in the UK, how many were there? Rechecked cookies, thank you. According to a report by Statistica, there were approximately 46,800 pubs in the UK back in 2020. Oh, but in 2010, there were 8,600 more pubs. We'll say they're like 55,000 pubs. I don't think I have all the info yet. Let's keep going.
That's more than one per day. Already in the first 3 months of 2025, according to the Campaign for Real Ale, 303 pubs across England, Scotland and Wales have shut, with this number expected to rise further due to changes to the government's budget effective from April.
That sounds like a lot, doesn't it? Wait, how many days are we into the year? 120. I'm going to say, I think we're like 122. Wow, that's almost 2 a day. That's more than 2 a day. Wow.
It's not just pubs either. Brewers, cafes, local nightclubs and restaurants are all suffering from the crisis facing the UK's hospitality industry. So, in this video, we'll take a look at the UK's pubs crisis, why it's getting worse, and whether they can be saved. If you want more UK political drama from us, check out our podcast Starmageddon, where we track the successes and failures of this new Labour government. Find it over on the TLDR podcast's YouTube channel or in your favourite podcast app.
Wait, is that an anti-Keir Starmer podcast? I don't know how I feel about that. But y'all be sure to go to TLDR and like and subscribe. Maybe.
So let's start with some historical context.
Okay.
Pubs have existed in the UK for hundreds of years, since at least the 17th century, when so-called coaching inns acted as hubs for travellers and locals, providing food, drink and accommodation. Then in 1830, the Beer House Act, which was repealed in 1993, made beer cheaper and more accessible, effectively allowing anyone with a dwelling to sell alcohol as long as they paid an annual licence.
Okay.
This resulted in tens of thousands of new establishments, particularly in the rapidly industrialising north of England, with many pubs choosing to honour William IV, the governing monarch at the time, in their name. For the past 200 or so years, pubs have been a central part of British culture, representing the history and identity of local villages, towns and cities. British pubs are renowned across the world for their iconic naming practices, their painted signs, often featuring heraldic imagery like coats of arms, and also their cosy interiors, including wood panelling, timber ceilings, leather sofas with brass details, bar stools, and various historical maps, sketches, and photos of the local area often adorning the walls. However, in recent decades, a pubs crisis has emerged.
Okay. So in 1830, that wasn't that long ago. Wait, let's back up. So in the 1600s, wait, she said 17th century, is that correct?
Hundreds of years, since at least the 17th century.
She did. Okay, that's really interesting. So back in the day, when people would travel from city to city, there'd be an inn, and in the inn there would be a restaurant and a pub, or I don't know if there'd be a restaurant and a pub, but you could buy food and beer. Great. All in one spot. It's kind of nice. So that went for a couple hundred years just like that. But then in 1830, the government said, you know what? If you pay this licensing fee once a year, you can sell beer. Go for it. And they went for it. Y'all went for it. Anyone with a house could sell beer. Y'all, I could sell beer. I don't have a house. My parents could sell beer. And I feel like, wow, William the Fourth is... I don't know anything about William the Fourth, y'all. Show me on the internet. Let's check him out. Whoa. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay. This dude, what a foppish little man. I mean, no, that's not nice to say. He's a dandy. He looks nice, is what I meant to say. Oh, wait, I didn't even read about him. Hang on. I was put off. Hang on. 1765 to 1830. Oh, he was only the king for 7 years. From 1830 till he died in 1837. That's probably why I've never really heard of him. Oh, and it's one of those situations where his 2 older brothers died without having legitimate children, so he inherited the throne. When he was 64. Wow. So it was kind of unexpected, I guess, to some degree, right? He was born at Buckingham Palace. How did he die? His oldest daughter died. What, they don't say that what he died from. How did King William IV die? No one wants to say. That means he pooped to death, y'all. Okay. Looks like he died of heart failure. So he just withered away and his heart stopped, apparently. Okay. But he had all these pubs named after him. That's kind of cool.
With many pubs choosing to honour William IV, the governing monarch at the time, in their name. For
Right
the
on.
past 200 or so years, pubs have been a central part of British culture, representing the history and identity of local villages, towns and cities.
Yeah, y'all. For my American friends, those British pubs are the local watering hole. That's where everybody goes to hang out. Even kids go. Whole families go. Actually, I've reacted to some videos about British pub culture. Check it out. Maybe I can remember to put a link there.
Leather sofas with brass details, bar stools, and various historical maps, sketches, and photos of the local area often adorning the walls. However, in recent decades, a pubs crisis has emerged. According to a 2014 report by the Institute of Economic Affairs, in 1969 there were approximately 75,000 pubs in the UK, but by 1980 this had fallen to 69,000, by 2003 to under 60,000, and by 2013 to under 48,000. As we mentioned earlier, today in England and Wales that number sits below 39,000 and will likely continue falling.
Wow, y'all. That's almost half. Since 1969.
And will likely continue falling. Pubs have largely suffered because of competition from supermarkets, which can sell alcohol much more cheaply than pubs because they can squeeze brewers' margins and also sell alcohol at a loss to attract customers. In fact, while the price of beer at a pub or bar has risen significantly faster than inflation in recent decades, the price of beer off sales, i.e. from supermarkets and off licenses, has risen more slowly than inflation. This has caused pint prices to soar. In 1987, the average pint at a UK pub cost just 92p, but by 2024, it had surged to a national average of £4.79.
Wow. And that's the average. So, you know, somewhere's selling 10-pound pints, right? Somewhere is. Wow.
It's even higher in the capital at £5.59, apparently, although as a London-based office, we're pretty sure it's higher than this.
I'm thinking of the pub closest to me is a place called Birds. It's called Birds because of the Alfred Hitchcock film. There's like a bunch of birds imagery inside of it, and there's a big photo of Alfred Hitchcock. I've seen Christopher Nolan there a couple times. But if I get a Guinness, it's $12. $12 for a Guinness.
Anyway, this has all contributed to fewer people being able to afford a pub trip, and fewer customers increases financial pressure on pubs. The pubs crisis was also exacerbated by the pandemic. Pubs were forced to close for months under strict social distancing rules, with some failing to reopen at all. While some pubs managed to get around the rules by serving a substantial meal with their alcohol, even if that was just a Scotch egg, social trends changed as people got used to staying at home and not going out to socialise at the pub. Then in 2022, as energy costs and inflation soared after Russia's invasion of Ukraine, already struggling pubs were further hit, and fewer people could afford paying for a pint.
Right. Wow. It's a perfect storm, y'all. The energy prices because of Russia invading Ukraine. Does the UK buy energy from Russia? Or what's the deal with that? UK is in no way dependent on Russian gas supply. Our single largest source of gas is from the UK continental shelf, and the vast majority of imports come from reliable suppliers such as Norway. Okay. Global energy prices soared after Russia's invasion of Ukraine, which began 3 years ago on Monday. In response, European countries scrambled to wean themselves off Russian gas rather than fund the war ordered by Vladimir Putin. Okay, so it caused energy prices to go up all over the world. I didn't know that. Damn.
Leading to hundreds of pubs closing permanently. This trend continued throughout 2023 and 2024. In February this year, businessman Sacha Lord, Greater Manchester's former nighttime economy advisor who originally endorsed Labour's campaign, wrote a letter to UK Chancellor Rachel Reeves, arguing that he was reconsidering his position as the hospitality sector faces, quote, irreversible damage. He also claimed the government's 2025 to 26 budget will cripple businesses across the sector, and that its new tax implications will push many small and independent operators to breaking point.
Sacha Lord, I have today joined the Labour Party. This is a move I've wanted to make for a long time. We need a change in government, and I fully support Labour in their ambitions to lead the country. Who is he now? Manchester's economic guru? Sacha Lord. I mean, what a name. What a face. That's a handsome man. What if he was a lord? He would be Lord. He was the nighttime economy advisor for Greater Manchester. Nighttime economy advisor. Does that mean like nightlife economy? Or is there a night shift at the economy headquarters? Oh, he came out of that Manchester nightlife. Okay. Yeah. So he knows about some pubs. He knows about pubs and clubs and nubs, cubs, hubs, rubs, subs, tubs, and zubs. In January 2025, Lord resigned from his position doing that, citing the emotional toll caused by a review by Arts Council England into a grant awarded to a company, Primetime Event Solutions, in which Lord was a minority shareholder. The grant had been awarded during the pandemic, but Arts Council England sought to recover the funds following an internal review. Lord criticized the review process, highlighting inconsistencies and a lack of proportionality. Arts Council England had previously cleared the company in 2022, stating no misuse of public funds had occurred. That sounds fishy. Well, Lord, Mr. Lord, Sir Lord, Sacha, I wish you the best. Let's read his letter.
Wrote a letter to UK Chancellor Rachel Reeves.
Dear Chancellor. That's what he sounds like, y'all. I write to you as a long-standing advocate for the hospitality sector, deeply concerned about the precarious situation facing independent and small businesses in our industry. The sector employs 3.5 million people and contributes £54 billion in tax receipts to the UK economy. Yet recent government decisions threaten its survival. £54 billion, y'all. I urge you to act before irreversible damage is done. Okay.
He also claimed the government's 2025 to 26 budget will cripple businesses across the sector, and that its new tax implications will push many small and independent operators to breaking point. A quick online search shows a series of recent local newspaper stories about pub closures, with publicans increasingly concerned about rising costs, including higher employer national insurance contributions and a rise in the national minimum wage. As a result, some pubs are closing early, while others are closing down. So the big question is this a death sentence for British pubs, or can they be saved? Well, one thing that could potentially help is the UK government's planned reforms to the business rate system, which we'll come back to in a moment. But right now, pubs are facing...
Business rates, is that the tax rates? Is that what you mean?
Facing a significant decline in financial support from the government, with Reeves having cut the rate of business relief for the hospitality sector from 75% to 40% in the 2025-26 budget. This means that, as of the 1st of April, retail, hospitality and leisure businesses, like pubs, in properties with a rateable value, i.e. an estimated worth, of under £500,000 can get 40%, rather than the previous 75%, off their business rates bills for the 2025 to 26 tax year.
That's a big difference, y'all. If they owe, say, $10,000, I know there's people sitting out there watching just waiting for me to mix up dollars and pounds. So if I owe 10,000 pounds in taxes as a business, before I could write off 75% of it and I would only owe 2,500 pounds. But now I can only write off 40% of that, 4,000 pounds, and I'm going to owe 6,000 pounds. 2,500 to 6,000, that's a big difference. I'm sure it's more than that.
Up to a £110,000 cap. However, the government says this is a temporary measure until 2026 to 27.
Oh, wait. So up to 110,000 pounds cap, so you can't write off more than that.
However, the government says this is a temporary measure until 2026 to 27, when they plan to permanently lower tax rates for hospitality properties. This will likely be funded by a higher multiplier on businesses worth over £500,000, including most large infrastructure businesses and warehouses, like those used by online distributors, in line with Labour's manifesto pledge to support the high street. For context, their 2024 election manifesto said that the current business rate system places an undue burden on our high streets and contains a pledge to reform it to level the playing field between the high street and online giants, better incentivise investment, tackle empty properties, and support entrepreneurship.
Okay, so high street is like the British term. In America, we would say like Main Street, although Main Street, that has like a small rural town connotation. But high streets are like, for my American friends, that's where all the shops are. That's where all the commerce, like most of the commerce in a town is. High street, right? Right.
This would hopefully mean lower tax rates for pubs, supported by higher rates on big online warehouses. Although it could also affect big anchor tenant businesses worth over £500,000 in town centres, like bigger pubs or those in highly valued historical buildings. But it's unclear whether these future changes to the UK's business rate system will come quick enough to save local pubs. There are other societal trends, including young people going out less, a fall in alcohol consumption, rapid urbanisation, and a shift towards non-alcohol-based activities, plus people generally spending more time alone and online, which are also putting community strongholds like pubs at risk of closure.
Yeah, there have been some reports of studies that have come out lately that show that even just a little bit of alcohol is really bad for you, health-wise. That makes me think twice about having a Guinness, you know? It's so good. I want one right now. Damn it, what time is it? It's 11 a.m. Okay.
So if we want to save them, it might take more than just the government. If you can, maybe consider spending a bit of time in your local this Easter weekend and help preserve an important part of the community, at least for a bit longer. Regardless, in 2025, one thing is certain. We can expect the news cycle to continue being dominated by these same major figures. But who's the most influential? In the most recent edition of our magazine, Too Long, we find out. That's because this 72-page issue runs down our official ranking of the world's most influential people, a vote which saw the TLDR team and more than 15,000 of you casting ballots. In the magazine, you'll learn the entire ranking. Plus, we've written articles about all of the world. That includes Modi's. You'll get an additional and allows us to keep all of our...
Y'all be sure to go to TLDR News and like and subscribe. Maybe order their magazine. I don't know. Gosh, y'all, what's the answer? I don't know. It's like the pubs are caught in the middle of all this other stuff going on. My upstairs neighbor is having sexual intercourse. But, why is it that, the prices for pints are going up? Because the pubs have to charge more so they can cover their rent and their energy bill, and they're raising wages. I love the idea of raising a minimum wage, but that does put pressure on the pubs. Damn, y'all, what could they do? They're already selling food, right? It sucks that alcohol is unhealthy, isn't it? It sucks. What if alcohol was really good for you? What if it was really healthy? What if it was like drinking a kale smoothie? What if the pubs started selling cannabis beverages? Is cannabis legal in the UK? Is cannabis legal in the UK? Cannabis? It is illegal to possess, produce, supply, import, or export cannabis in the UK. Well, okay. Let's change that. Right? Let's change that. Y'all, the pubs could serve cannabis and alcohol. That wouldn't solve the problem. That wouldn't solve the problem. If energy prices went down, I think that would help a lot, right? Let's end that war. Hey, DJT, get in there. What are you waiting for? You said it was going to end on January 20th. It's May. What's up? Right? Right? Kier, end that war. I don't know if Kier could do it. Oh no. What's the answer? I hate to see the pubs closing, y'all. I know it's such a important part of British culture. The neighborhoods. Maybe there should be a Weatherspoons tax. Like, just up the taxes on Weatherspoons so they're paying for all the other pubs, right? If a Weatherspoons closed, I don't think anybody would care. Except for the people that work at Weatherspoons, right? I don't know. But it's very, very interesting. All these factors are colliding together. Or maybe, I don't know, y'all, maybe we should just let it happen. Maybe it's just part of the natural process. You know? What was the world like before the 1700s when pubs started, or 1600s? Maybe the pubs got to up their game a little bit. Maybe they can't rely on just the default customers coming in. Up that commercialism. American capitalism. I'd hate for that to happen, but I don't know, y'all. I don't know. Was this a good video? I don't know. Is this good content? It's kind of sad. Y'all be sure to go to the pub, your local pub, and buy a pint or some chips, right? Something like that. Support your local pub. Anyway, well, I'd like to say thanks to my patrons. I'd like to say thanks to my Buy Me a Coffee folks. Thank y'all for watching this with me, and I'll see you next time. Later.